What's going on, everyone? This is Vicente.
And this is Izzy.
And welcome to our Scream Theory review and continuing our Scream franchise overlook. Now, with the success of Scream 1 and Scream 2, a trilogy was inevitable with how much money they made, the fan positivity, everything. But funny enough, this didn't take place a year after. It literally took like 3 years to get made. So this movie took place in 2000, but Scream 3, you either love it or you hate it.
Yeah, and for me, I'm on the hate. I don't hate it. I will say that. It's my least favorite out of the franchise, but I do not hate it.
And you know what's funny is that I used to really hate Scream 3 because of like just all its contributed plot, story holes, everything plot, and then with the characters just being hella stupid, the retconning of Maureen Prescott's murder, and then that stupid fucking voice changer, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But over the years, I would say Scream 3 kind of aged pretty good, in a good way, but also in a bad way too, with, the revelation of Harvey Weinstein and Bob Weinstein actually being predators and sexually harassing their actors, male and female. It's just disgusting. So in a way, Scream 3 was kind of like their confession, but for what it's worth, I don't mind Scream 3. And fun story is that Scream 3, the original story was going to have Stumacher. It was going to bring back Stu, and I think that would have been cool. And so the storyline goes that he was going to be targeting Sydney from prison and have all these high school students target her and reveal that it was a cult and that everyone that died never really died and they were all going to gang up on Sydney and try to kill her. But then, the unfortunate Columbine school shooting incident happened and it ruined whatever story they had.
Yeah, I think that would have been an interesting storyline, and you can kind of say they repurposed that in the newer Scream movies.
They kind of, I would say that it's kind of maybe building up to that, especially with Jason and his one friend, how they're part of our online Reddit community. And so maybe they're building towards that. But what are your true feelings on Scream 3?
For me, it's my least favorite of the franchise. I'm not a fan of the setting very much. I'm not a Hollywood person. The story's all right. It's not my favorite in the franchise.
That I can agree with, yeah.
But I will say, for it being my least favorite, it's also not a horrible movie. I still watch this movie when I'm rewatching the Scream franchise.
Oh, yeah. And, as many other horror people will tell you, and I'll tell you right now, if Scream 3 is the worst in your franchise, you're not doing bad as a horror franchise. And for what it's worth, I do think it is a good ending to an amazing trilogy. And it sucks that Neve Campbell wasn't really involved in this movie. Scheduling conflicts, which I can't hold accountable, but it is going to be a negative when we do talk about it. But they actually do manage to make it work. And so for me, this is, I would say, my second least favorite. My least favorite is still Scream 4. And, I don't really hate it, but I can still enjoy it. But for me, I would give Scream 3 a solid 6 out of 10.
For me, I would probably give it a 5. It's mid. It's mid.
Oh, shit. Damn, you're probably going to piss off someone that loves Scream 3.
You know what? I will piss off whatever. I don't hate it. I still watch it. I like it. It's not my favorite.
Yeah, and that's perfectly fine. We all have our opinions.
Oh, yeah.
All right, and without further ado, let's get into our positive, mix, and negatives. So we're starting off with our first positive. I love the use of the Hollywood setting and the super meta-ness and continuing it and the mini cameos. Now, we actually forgot to mention in our Scream 2 review is that this movie's also meta in this universe is because they have movies called Stab that are basically a retelling of the previous movie. So in Scream 2, they made a movie called Stab that was retelling the events of the first movie. So we forgot to mention that. I'm surprised no one ever mentioned it in the comments. But if you remember, thank you for not being a dick and, saying, oh, and you guys forgot this. And so in this movie, it's they're making Stab 3, which is basically them trying to tell their own story. And so I love that meta-ness because we get to see actors in Hollywood play fictionalized characters of our trio, Sydney, Gail, and Dewey. And we get cameos from Jay and Silent Bob and fucking Carrie Fisher. And I love the Hollywood setting. I know Izzy isn't really a fan of it, but it makes it interesting because we were set in a small town of Woodsboro, then a college, and now we're into the big city, and I like it for what it's worth.
Yeah, for me, and I may not like the Hollywood setting, but I very much appreciate all the meta-ness in this movie. It's like a movie inside of a movie.
Yeah, and that's what I love,
Which is a really cool concept to me, because you don't see that nowadays.
Oh, no, you really don't. And so I can appreciate that Scream 3 did have, a movie inside of a movie, whether it's a Stab fictionalized movies, the cameos, and just everything. But it was also kind of meta, like we said, because with Harvey Weinstein and Bob Weinstein, just the sexual allegations, it's disgusting. And so in a way, like we said, this movie kind of aged like fine wine in a good way, but also in a bad way. But I don't hold it against it because we can separate the art from the artist. Now, we're not confirming a Jeepers Creepers review. We don't know. That one we're still debating because that one kind of hits a little too close to home.
Yeah, we'll wait on that one, personally for me.
Yeah, okay. All right, and now starting with our second positive, the Dewey and Gale taking the lead role in this movie. I actually do like their chemistry, and despite Sidney Prescott not having like a big lead in this movie, I do like it that we can actually just hang out with Dewey and Gale. I think they're perfectly good, and so it doesn't feel that bad of a movie.
It really doesn't, and I mean, if you think about it, the Scream 2 was more focused about Sidney and Randy. So in this one, I feel like it was naturally more focused around Gale and Dewey, which is really good, and their story is good, and you see more of their chemistry, which is really blooms in this movie, I feel.
Oh, yeah, and I think at this point, Gail and Courtney Cox and David Arquette were actually married at this point, I believe, or I think they married the year after this movie got released in 2000. I think they got married in 2001. I could be wrong. Yeah, but Dewey and Gale, what's funny is that Izzy doesn't like the way Gale looks in this movie with her yellow dress and her bangs in her hair. Izzy's always giving her shit. She looked at me when we were rewatching it. She said, Gale does not look good in this one.
Her haircut looks so bad. Her bangs are literally like an inch of hair, and they just look like little frayed. To me, not my style, but hey, if the actor liked it at that time, then props for her.
And I think Courtney Cox did an interview and said that, oh my God, yeah, no, I look the worst in this movie. But, for what it's worth, I do like their chemistry. And, I know Scream is about Sidney Prescott. It started with Sidney Prescott, but it is nice to get other perspectives, and that's what I love so much about the other movies is that, yes, we get some Sidney taste in it, but just to do a franchise with other characters, stories, I do like it, and to start it out with Dewey and Gale being the first ones to have like their lead roles in a movie, I would say that was a smart choice.
Oh yeah, and I think just focusing on the other characters in the franchise is what will keep the franchise alive as well.
Fresh and new, yes. And I can appreciate that. And now moving on to our third positive, finding a way to quote unquote resurrect Randy Meeks. Now Kevin Williamson and Wes Craven and everyone that was in the production for Scream 3 wanted Randy Meeks back. With the fan backlash and negativity when it came to Randy's death, they were going to bring him back. So one or two things was going to happen. One, so Dewey's role in this movie, that was actually going to be Randy's role. Somehow they were going to say that Randy survived his stab wounds and everything, and that he was going to work on set as a consulate for Stab 3. But, that didn't work out. It didn't seem too plausible. But their second choice, which seems a little bit more plausible. So in this scene to where Randy... sister Martha brings out videotape and Randy appears on TV and explains the rules. It was actually going to be him confirming that he was still alive, that he was just in hiding.
See, that would have been really cool. I think I would have believed that more than the consult. But I mean, I feel like with the Scream franchise, his death means a lot more just to keep him alive. But I will say this was my favorite part about this movie was bringing Randy back in the video.
Yeah, and then his rules, I just love it how his first rule, the killer is going to be superhuman, and the killer isn't. He just has a bulletproof vest, and he's smart. And then so stabbing him, killing him won't work. Stabbing him, shooting him won't work. So you got to blow his hat off or make him blow up. And then the second rule is always going to go back to the original. And then I think that's it. Was there a third rule? I'm trying to remember.
No, that was it.
Yeah, it was just the second. Oh no, the third rule was that any of the main characters can die. But they never really expand upon that in that movie. But for what it's worth, I'm glad they still found a way to bring back Randy Meeks. And Jamiekennedy said he still holds that role in that movie dear to his heart. And who knows, maybe one day we'll see Randy in another videotape. Yeah, so it was just nice for them to bring back Randy to explain the rules of a trilogy. Because I can't see anyone's explaining the rules like Randy, unless you're like a film nerd. But even then, I just think that to end this trilogy with Randy rules, it had to be Randy himself. And I'm glad that they could include Jamiekennedy, even if he wasn't technically resurrected. It was still a nice tribute to just include him. He made the tape in Scream 2 because he figured he was going to die. And it's funny because he reveals that he lost his virginity set between Scream and Scream 2. So he's like, yeah, that's probably why I died here, because I lost my virginity.
And that's such a cute little tidbit because it just calls back to the first movie, which I love.
Yeah, where he's all like, only virgins live and stuff. All right, and now moving on to our last positive. Despite the mixed reception we have with Scream 3, I would say still a pretty good ending, you know, because Sidney finally conquers her demons. She learns to move on. And there's this scene that we're going to show you right now, to where Sidney closes a door, but then the door opens by itself, but Sidney smiles and walks away. And to me, that symbolizes Sidney Prescott finally being able to move on from the murders, from everything, letting her know that she welcomes anything into her life, that she's not afraid no more. And just seeing Dewey and Gail get their happy ending, and then Sidney get her happy ending somewhat for this trilogy, and end up with Mark Kincaid, played by Patrick Dempsey. I do like it, despite mixed feelings on Scream 3. I do think it is a solid, good ending to the trilogy.
Yeah, and even as me, as someone who this is my least favorite movie, I can appreciate this movie because I really do feel that this movie did go full circle, especially when it came to Sidney, and even Gail and Dewey as well.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, for what it's worth, Scream 3 probably has the best ending for a trilogy when it comes to horror movies. Not saying, you know, there's some bad ones, but we all know that horror sequels never really live up to the hype.
That's very true.
All right, now that we're done with our positives, we're moving on to our mixed feelings. And there's only one mixed feelings. And believe it or not, it's going to be the opening scene. And now we start out with Cotton Weary, which is sad. You know, he's played by Liev Schreiber. But what I don't like about it is the voice changer in Izzy. I think I'm going to let you take this one.
Yeah, so the voice changer in this movie, what's so annoying about it to us is that when Ghostface uses the voice changer right in front of Cotton Weary, you don't hear his voice, you just hear the voice changer. And it's like, if someone actually did that in real life, you would have heard their voice.
Yeah, and we're going to show an audio clip right now to where what we mean by it, to where Ghostface is usually, to where Ghostface is literally using Cotton Weary's voice, and you can't even hear the other person's voice.
What are you talking about?
Talking about how much fun it's gonna be to rip your insides out. Now open the fucking door!
Okay, so yeah, you guys know what we mean, is that when they're using the voice changer in person, you be able to hear the other person's voice too. Like, it's not so much as like it can copy other people's voices, because in reality there are AI voices now, so I can give it a pass for that. It's just more of like, let's just say I'm literally behind the door and Izzy's on the other side of the door, and I'm using a voice changer to act like I'm someone else. She would still be able to hear my voice, and so that's the one thing I really hate about the opening scene. It's just how Cotton's girlfriend Christine is so easily fooled, how she can't really tell it's Cotton, and then the way Roman, or spoiler alert, the Roman the killer is able to kill Cotton. I'm sorry, but that's so fucking stupid. Liev Schreiber is a buff-ass dude. There's no way Roman would be able to take him out, even if it was by surprise. Like, just the whole opening scene, the lead up to it is just stupid, but I will give it credit that I do like how they killed off a big character again.
Yeah, and especially as like an opening scene, that is really cool that they did kill Cotton. It sucks, but like I feel like it was a good ending for him because the story had nowhere else to go from, in my opinion.
Yeah, and they were gonna bring him back for Scream 4, but it's like, for what? He got stabbed in the heart and in the head. You're not coming back for that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's just medically impossible. But yet again, who knows? All right, now that we're done with our mix, we're going on to our negatives, and woo, these negatives are really going to go into it. All right, so starting with our first negative, and we talked about it a little bit, retconning Maureen Prescott's murder. Now, here's what I mean. Billy and Stu did kill Maureen still, but it's just more the fact that they were, like, told to, like, kind of inspired to by Roman, and I just think that's so stupid. And then Roman is leaving notes at the crime scene saying that I killed Maureen Prescott. And I'm sorry, but that's just fucking stupid.
Yeah, I hate the whole retcon, and I hate how they make Billy and Stu seem like henchmen instead of like actual killers.
Exactly, yeah, because they were both insane. What I would have preferred if Roman left like video cassettes, VHS tapes, and like photos at Billy's doorstep so Billy saw them and he just fucking snapped.
And he did it anonymously.
Yeah, so that way, like, yes, Roman did like kind of inspire them, but he didn't straight up meet them and tell them like, oh, go do this because Maureen left me, gave me up for adoption because I was her bastard child. You know, I was a son of a horrible crime. And it's a Saturday morning cartoon villain type of thing that I just hate. So I just would have preferred if Roman did it anonymously, and then he gave Billy tips on how to do the first murder spree in Woodsboro, saying they'll have a partner to frame in case you get caught, make a movie, and it's like, it's just so stupid because then it takes away from Billy and Stu. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Exactly, and this is why you don't touch the first movie, because this happens.
Yeah, and Sidney Prescott says it in Scream 4. You don't fuck with the original.
Exactly.
And you just don't fuck with the original.
Uh-huh.
All right, and now moving on to our second negative. Just Roman comes off as a spoiled brat, and his whole fake death scene. So we're going to talk about his quote-unquote death. So just to kind of throw him off as a suspect, in the mansion to where Gil and the other partygoers are like investigating and stuff, Roman's mansion, she sees Roman in a casket and it looks like he's dead. But here's the thing that pisses me off the most. She checks his pulse. And people have tried saying, oh, you can stop your pulse or slow it down a bit. No, you cannot. Maybe slow it down, but you would still feel a pulse. And that's just so stupid. And even as a kid, I knew that was such a fake death because we didn't see him die. Mm-hmm. And when you see people die and scream, they're dead. And if you see someone act like they died, no, they're not, because it's probably fake. You're going to see it if someone dies. And then Roman's is kind of like the spoiled brat because he tells Sidney, I should have had your life, blah, blah, blah. And it's like I said, it goes back to being a Saturday morning cartoon villain. But I will say, I do like how he's the only Ghostface, a solo one, because I'll give him props. He's probably the smartest Ghostface out of all of them.
Yeah, I do agree. I think it is cool that they went with one Ghostface in this movie, but he is a very annoying killer. And I bet people in the comments are going to say, oh, what if you took medication to slow down his pulse? Well, sure, but I don't think if he took that medication, he would be as powerful and as strong as he is.
Yeah, he would have been duped up. You see, there's just no possible way. It's just kind of dumb. But here's a behind the scenes I'm going to tell Izzy because she doesn't know. I told Ty this today. What's up, Ty? How you doing, man? I hope you're liking this episode. But so Roman was going to have a partner because there's just no, in the movie, it looks like there are two ghost faces, but Roman was going to have a partner. I don't know the actress's name in the movie-wise, but she's the actress that's playing Sidney Prescott in Stab 3, since Tori Spelling couldn't come back in that universe. But the twist was going to be that the actress that's playing Sidney Prescott in Stab 3 was going to be one of Sidney's old high school classmates, and she never got noticed. But here's where it gets even weirder. She sleeps with Roman to get the part, as we know in the movie. But here's where it gets fucked up. Roman only casted her as Sidney Prescott because she kind of looked like her, and he imagined an ancestral relationship with Sidney. And I'm glad they cut that. Izzy, by the judge of your face, I can tell that's grossing you out. I'm glad they cut that, because that honestly would have ruined the fucking movie for me.
It would have ruined the movie, and it would have just ruined Roman's character even more for me, because I know he's a messed up, annoying guy, but, like, that just would have taken it way too far.
Yeah, it's just disgusting. It's like, man, I don't come to Scream movies to talk about incest or any of that. That's just weird. It would have been way too much for that. So I do like the idea that it is just a solo Ghostface, even though in the movie there's scenes where it's like, dude, there has to be two.
And her character specifically can seem like that she is the partner, but I'm just really glad they didn't go that route.
Yeah, I'm glad they cut that part out. All right, now moving on to our third negative. Most of these characters just make hella dumb choices. One we're going to talk about, we're going to show a clip, is when they're at Tom Prince's house, and the killer is literally leaving fax messages through the fax machine. If you don't know what a fax machine is, I don't know how to explain it to you young kids. It's those type of machinery, like a VHS player. And so the killer's leaving him messages, and then he's like, oh, we have to see how the scene's going to end. And so Tom Prince literally goes back in there like a dumbass just to see what the final scene's going to end. And then the house blows up. That is so fucking stupid. Why you couldn't bring that? Let's just say, fine, you want to see how the scene's going to end, how the killer's going to end it. Why wouldn't you just bring the note back outside, and then the whole, oh, I can't see it, it's too dark. Bruh, in that movie, you can still see the wording. I don't get that whole scenario.
Yeah, it was way too stereotypical. And, like, these characters are very stupid, so I think it has meta-ness of, like, Hollywood actors being, like, really stupid and really predictable.
Yeah, I guess I can, yeah, but it's still a dumb. I think the biggest one, too, is how when Roman is having a birthday party at his mansion, all these people decide to go to the mansion. And even one of the characters, Tyson, he's playing a homage to Randy Meeks as a character for Stab 3. He even says, have you guys not seen any of the Stab movies? Every time there's a big event like this, people get murdered and Dewey turns into a shish kebab. And that's true. Why would you have a party? And another thing that bothers me is that the killer's coming after all the characters in this movie. The actors that are in Stab 3. Directors and everything. Why aren't the cops protecting them? Why isn't there like a whole ass police squad literally surveillancing these people?
Exactly. Like, I get they had the one security guard, but there should have been so much more police and like just security on it. It made no sense, especially in today's time.
And another one I hate, and we're gonna show it right now, is to when fucking Roman shoots Sidney in the chest. And I told Izzy this, I'm like, dude, yes, I know that people shoot people in the chest because it's a bigger target, but Roman had Sidney dead to rights. He could have gone for the head, and then Dewey just being hella dumb. Like, it even makes some of these characters just so stupid and making dumb choices that lead up to their death, or them just being held hostage. And it's like, after 2 movies with Dewey and Gale and Sidney be this stupid.
Yeah, some of their choices, even our main characters like Sidney, Gale, and Dewey, should have been a little bit smarter. I feel like it was like dumbed down because it was Hollywood, but...
Yeah, and you know, they're having a little fun with it. Oh,
yeah.
And we forgot to mention it, a little fun behind the scenes fact when it comes to the meta-ness. So there's a scene too where like the actors and actresses in the movie are getting mad because there's been script rewrites and everything. That's actually a real life thing because since Scream 2, the original script got leaked, there was many rewrites and it was frustrating everyone on set. So that's a fun little fact.
Yeah.
And now moving on to our last negative, and it's the lack of Sidney Prescott and Neve Campbell. Now, I can't really blame the movie for it, story-wise, but it just kind of sucks because I wish they would have just waited for Neve Campbell for his schedule to clear up. And I know we said that Dewey and Gale taking the lead role in this movie was good, but it just kind of sucks that Sidney just never really played a big part. I mean, the last third act she did when she finally confronts Roman and has her happy ending some way, but it just sucks. It feels, you know, there's a whole missing in there. Yeah, we see her some of the first act and second act, but it's just very rare and it sucks.
Yeah, it feels like she's kind of just, I mean...
a side character.
Yeah, it feels like she's a side character and kind of just thrown in there in the end because she's Sidney Prescott and has to face Ghostface.
Yeah, and I get that Wes Craven wanted this movie to end before 2000 came and stuff like that, but studios wanted this movie to release literally in the beginning of 2000. But I wouldn't have minded if they started development like maybe a year or two later, just so Neve Campbell can fully be in this movie and play like a much bigger part. Because she does somewhat, but then there's times in this movie she just feels like it's just a side character. And it's like, well, if Neve Campbell wasn't really going to be in this, you might as well just have fucking Gale and Dewey just take the lead and stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like it would have been best if they waited. But I do want to say that even though she's not in the movie, I think the part she did play were good.
Oh, no, she still does good. But like I said, Scream 2 will always be the best portrayal of Sidney Prescott.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
All right, and that's going to do it with their Scream 3 review. We hope you guys enjoyed it. And like we said, or like what I said, Izzy doesn't like Scream 3. Despite Scream 3 being kind of mixed for me, I still enjoy it. I still think it's a good ending to the trilogy. And despite Roman being like the only Ghostface, the only part I really like in it, besides him being a spoiled brat, it's a good movie. And if Scream 3 is the worst in your franchise, I think you're doing pretty good as a horror franchise.
Yeah, it's a decent movie. I will rewatch it. I don't hate it when I rewatch it. It's just my least favorite of the franchise, and you know what? Y'all are gonna have to accept that.
And then, you know, funny enough, this was supposed to be the last Scream movie. There wasn't gonna be any more after this, but then here comes 2011, new decade, new rules, and we get Scream 4, which covers the remakes and reboots of horror movies, but we won't talk about that until next week. So as always, be good people, take care of each other, be good to yourself, and we'll catch you guys for a Scream 4 review. See you later, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Dewey's got our voices.
Yep, still fuck that voice changer. Still fucking hate it.